Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation. This evening, we are honored to have Ron Sheardown back on our show. Ron is an honoree in the 2014 Alaska Aviation Legends, which is a project that honors the men and women of Alaskan aviation and celebrates their contributions and shares their aviation stories. Welcome back to the show, Ron.
Thank you.
On our last show, we were talking about some of the rescues that you participated in and how some of the technology has changed. You have over 10,000 flight hours in the polar region. Is there any special safety equipment that you recommend that pilots take with them and that you still use?
I'm a little old-fashioned. I still carry the equipment that I've always carried: a tent, a good sleeping bag, a good polar sleeping bag, and a stove and other equipment, along with the modern 406 CLT and a PLB and a sat phone. That whole area has changed from say the 1950s. At that time, a Gibson girl was probably the only thing that was still out there from World War II as a search beacon, which never worked very well. The Sarah units came out in the late 50s, I think about 1959, 1960. It was built in England. It didn't work in the wintertime because it had a wet cell battery that froze, so it was of very little value in the wintertime. Then there was the CPI and a number of others, then the 121.5, 243 beacons, and now the 406, which is an improvement on all of them. So there's huge changes there. Very few airplanes are missing for more than a few days at a time today. It isn't like you have to be prepared for months or prepared to walk out. It's a whole different world out there today, and probably less survival gear is necessary than it was previous.
But pilots should still be dressed for proper conditions, right, whether it's Arctic or it's just cold weather. Right. And being prepared for comfort might be more of an issue rather than being able to survive for 2 months by oneself.
I still carry winter clothing all summer because it can get pretty chilly out there, and good rain gear. Yeah, I think you still need that, but it's not. It's a changing world, and the technology has certainly improved it.
We were talking about GPSs, and you mentioned that you always carry two in case one doesn't work.
Right.
And what about paper charts and sectionals?
I always carry paper charts because if you like try to fly through Rainy Pass with a GPS map, the map is so small you're really not sure of which creek you're on. When I go through a canyon, I take the old sectional out, and I have it highlighted, and I follow the sectional through. Even though I have the GPS as backup, I don't trust it as a primary. It's just the screen is just too small to give you the definition that you need.
And what about weather cameras? That's one way of checking the weather that I imagine you didn't have back in those days either.
That's a fact, and I came in from Nome with my helicopter last Tuesday, and my talking to flight service and got my briefing and discussions on the cameras where they said that the Rainy Pass side, the Pontilla side, looked like it was clouded in, but it was wide open on the west side, and that's exactly how I found it. It would have been a sucker hole if I'd have gone into Rainy Pass. I didn't even, from the information I had, I didn't even waste my time going into Rainy Pass, because you don't want to get to the pass and then find out you're plugged on the other side. So I came around through Ptarmigan and worked out fine.
Exactly, that's a much safer option.
Much safer, yes.
Well, I think it's great advice that someone like you, who has been through all kinds of extremely adverse situations and difficult conditions, still sees a reason to carry 2 GPSs, an ELT, a PLB, a satellite phone, and still carry tent and winter gear, even in the summer. I think that's great advice that all pilots can take.
It can get pretty cold out there at night if you're at 10,000 feet on top of a snow-covered mountain.
It sure can. Mr. Sheardown, thank you so much for being with us and letting us learn from your experiences.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to hear the stories from Ron and other pioneers of Alaskan aviation, please mark your calendars for November 7th. The Alaska Air Carriers Association is sponsoring a banquet to honor these amazing men and women. For more information, please call 277-0071. Ron's stories are a great reminder to be prepared to spend the night or even a bit longer when you go flying. So until next time, fly safely.